Welcome back, everybody. It's week 4 in the NFL, which means we're going to see a lot of teams playing a lot of different games. And the one thing about that is bye weeks do start, but you have to remember there's been 3 weeks. There's been a lot of numbers. There's been a lot of trends to see. So we're going to see a lot of games kick off on Sunday. So let's get right into it for running backs. Of course, last week was one of the biggest weeks we've seen from running backs, with guys like Devontae Freeman putting up close to 40 fantasy points on FanDuel, and guys like Joseph Randle scoring 3 touchdowns. And of course, the top backs like Adrian Peterson getting a few touchdowns as well. So we saw a lot of top running backs last week, and let's see if we can do it again this week with a little bit of a different slate because, of course, at running back, we're going to see guys like Le'Veon Bell has a bye for the Sunday games because he's playing on Thursday, I believe. So you're not going to see a guy like that. You're not going to see Deion Lewis or LeGarrette Blount because the Patriots are on bye. So let's dig into some different guys. Now, for the top tier guys, I always like to pick 1 or 2 guys that I like from that top tier, like Adrian Peterson, like Jamal Charles, stuff like that. But for this particular week, I'm not going to be recommending any of those top guys simply because each of them either has a tough matchup, their price isn't good enough, or some of them have injury concerns, like Marshawn Lynch's ability to get on the field is questionable. So considering the fact that the guys like that are either hurt or have a tough matchup, I'm going to go into some cheaper options that I do like, and I do think you can fill in your lineups on FanDuel with just 2 running backs. I'm going to start with my top second-tier option, and that's Latavius Murray. It'll probably be my top running back this week, considering the fact that I'm not using those top guys like AP or Jamal Charles. And the reason why I like Murray is because he has scored like a running back 1 so far this season. We're looking at the guys that are available for week 4 slate, and these guys that have scored more points than Latavius Murray are really hard to come by. The only guys that I've seen are Adrian Peterson, Devontae Freeman, who had that massive week last week, and Jamal Charles. Other than that, it's Latavius Murray. He's been very consistent. He has double-digit points in each of the 3 games, and he's showing production close to that of a running back 1. So considering he has a price of a running back 2 at $7,500, he makes for a decent play and a good matchup. And he definitely has that matchup in week 4 against the Bears, who have allowed a yards per carry average of just under 5 per carry, which is a big number. Now, the Bears have prevented running backs from finding success in a passing game this season. And that's one thing to keep an eye on because, of course, running back can score a lot in the passing game with the passing being up all across the NFL. But if you take a look at the running backs and the teams that the Bears have faced, there's only one team that really throws the ball to the running backs, and that's the Arizona Cardinals who they face. So that's not too much of a concern. I don't think that the Bears are one of the top defenses in terms of stopping running backs in the air, and they proved that they haven't been able to do it on the ground. So it really makes for a very good matchup for Latavius Murray. Now, the one thing about Murray is he is a runner and a receiver. He plays on third downs a lot. We thought the Raiders were going to use guys like Tywan Jones and Roy Halou, but Latavius Murray has, I believe, 11 catches so far this season. So he plays almost every down. He's the workhorse for them, and he's shown a lot of promise in terms of talent. Of course, we saw the 2 touchdown runs last year, but this year he's been good through 3 weeks. So in a good matchup, I really like his ability and his price on FanDuel, just $7,500. Now, my third-tier guys, there are 2 guys that I believe will be in a lot of people's lineups, and I can't fault you for having them in yours as well. I think I'll have a few with both of these guys. The first one is T.J. Yeldon, running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to be a favorite play in the daily fantasy industry this week, especially on FanDuel because of his price at just $6,400. He is the main back for the Jaguars. He has 48 of the team's 65 non-quarterback carries, and that's a huge number. A lot of teams will use 2 or 3 guys to carry the load, but T.J. Yeldon is the workhorse back. Now, why has he been so cheap? He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, and he didn't receive more than a dozen carries in his last game, but that was because the Jaguars are getting crushed, so I don't expect that to be an issue this week against the Colts, who the Jaguars should pretty much be more competitive with, as they're not going to be considered to be favored to blow out by 10, 15, 20 points. So I think they're going to stay in the game more, and we've seen Yeldon carry the ball a lot, and he's definitely going to do so against the Colts. The Colts this season have allowed 368 total yards and 4 touchdowns to opposing running backs. So they've struggled in that department. And considering the Jaguars don't have much else to do to throw to other than Allen Robinson, I look for T.J. Yeldon to catch some passes and, of course, carry the load for the rushing attack for that offense as well. The next guy is a guy you're going to hear a lot about. I think he's going to be in pretty much everyone's lineups if he does start, and rightfully so, and that's rookie Carlos Williams for the Buffalo Bills. He comes out of Florida State as a guy that ended up getting benched for guys like Dalvin Cook and actually Devontae Freeman, who we just talked about a little while ago. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have talent. We've seen it on display so far in the NFL, as he has a touchdown in each and every game so far in his career. Now, it has only been 3 games. Now, could he be getting lucky? Maybe. But he looks really good. He looks really quick, and he's a really big guy, so he's tough to take down. So if LaShawn McCoy is out, and as of now it looks like he may not play, Carlos Williams is a huge play simply because he's running behind one of the better offensive lines in football. He has a quarterback that's really quick and Tyrod Taylor, so the opposing defenses will have to respect that. And Williams should see a lot of running lane to continue his, I want to say, dominance so far in the NFL. We're obviously going to see if he can handle a big workload, but considering the fact that he's been good so far this year and the Bills' ability to run the ball, I think he's makes for a good play. Now, he's going to face the New York Giants, whose defensive line has struggled a lot. They've allowed 476 total yards to running backs this season, which is an absurd amount. It's one of the tops in the NFL. And they have allowed 3 touchdowns as well. So considering the fact that Williams' price is in the low 6,000s on FanDuel, you're getting him for $1,500 to $2,000 less than some of the other backs. He has a good matchup, and if he starts over McCoy, he's going to see a ton of carries. So you have all 3 check boxes checked there in terms of volume, in terms of matchup, and ability. Carlos Williams has all of them, so be sure to get him into your lineups if LaShawn McCoy does indeed sit. That wraps up our running back segment for this week. I really like Latavius Murray, TJ Yeldon, and the big guy I like is Carlos Williams this week if he's able to start. So be sure to take a look at that. Be sure to take a look at all the rest of the stuff on RotoCurve. We discussed quarterback, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, sleepers. Anything you need, you can find over there, and it's all free. All the tools, there's a bunch of stats up there. So be sure to take advantage of everything to use for your daily fantasy lineups, and let's make Week 4 a profitable one at NFL DFS.